Welcome back to the Unleashing. I want to try and keep the momentum going with getting the videos. It's a little weird coming back from taking time off, but trying to get back into the swing of this. I want to go over a few things from last year's little operation that I had, just share it with you guys, and a few dreams that I've had recently, and talk about a few things. But here we go. Last year, while I was working in a marina, basically, I was fixing up float homes and other issues and stuff like that. I'd had enough of the boss and the situation that I was in, and I wanted to take off, and I found another job up where I was, and I was going to get screwed over instantly, be paid like crap, and I finally just had enough trying to make it work, and I was like, that's it, I'm out of here. So I ended up leaving Sandpoint and doing a typical move in the middle of winter, January, and I prayed about it to God and said, I don't know what we're going to do, but I can't take this any longer. We got to change this up. I mean, I'm 40 years old, or I'm about to be, and this has got to be a little bit different now, hopefully, right? And so anyways, I prayed to him, and I took off, and since I knew I was leaving the area, I wanted to go over and talk to my cousins first, and so I did that. I went over, and I only ended up getting to see my cousin Estelle. I hung out and I talked to her about God and everything going on, I just wanted to see where her walk was and everything like that, and I didn't think that I'd make it back up there. And from there I went down to Missouri, something that I've had to do for a while, wanted to, and I thought I was going to try and live there, and I stayed with my sister for a while, but I really wanted to talk to my niece, who's now come of age. She's about 20 years old, and just like everybody that goes through the temptations of life and everything like that, I wanted to talk to her about all the uncomfortable stuff and the importance of keeping a holy life right now while we're getting closer to God's return. I have made just as many mistakes as everybody else is, and fornicated and everything like that in my life, right? But it's one thing to have that in the past, ask for forgiveness, have that from God. It's another to be caught right in the act of something in our lives, when God's coming back, and I wouldn't want that to affect anybody that I love, care about, or people that I'm mourning or anything like that, So you can understand what I'm talking about. And I wanted to talk to my sister and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I had some strong resistance coming against me. There's marijuana in the family coming from the husband, and I've warned you guys before, and I've told you stay away from that stuff. It's an open door, big time, and I've watched it time and time again. It's just an absolute open door for the demonic realm to go against. You might not have a problem with it. It might be absolutely fine with you. Oh, it's never caused any problems, and then I show up, and all of a sudden that open door gets used. Here come the demons, and it's just a front-on attack, and I have to deal with that. And it was coming strong against me because it knew I was down there and talked to my sister, niece, and nephew, and stuff like that. I ended up leaving. Took a little trip, rejuvenation, got to see a few things. I saw the big Noah's Ark over in Kentucky. It was pretty awesome. And headed back from there. I was going to go to Colorado, and on the way I actually stopped by Chaco Canyon. You guys have heard that before if you've read Tom Horn books, Steve Quayle, and other things like that. It's down by the Four Corners in New Mexico, and there's a lot of paranormal and stuff going on there. I'm going to share a complete video on that because what I found down there was absolutely mind-blowing. It was totally incredible, and I have some of the footage and stuff to show you guys, but pretty much what I discovered was it's one of the biggest petrified log jams maybe in the entire world, right in front of everybody's face, and I don't know if anybody's noticed it before. It's crazy, but I got some pretty cool pictures, and I walked along the canyon and stuff, and I've seen some petrified trees down there that were like 2 miles long, so they would have been standing about 2 miles high back before the flood. The world was a crazy place, and anyways, I'd like to share that too, and I've got some footage to show you guys on that, so that'd be pretty cool. From there I went up to Colorado. Was gonna see if I could make something work there, and it just wasn't in the plans. Me and my brother got into a little bit of discussion, and I had to leave the area, and that didn't work, and now we're not talking. So last year's been really interesting. I'm not talking to my sister really, or her family, and now my brother too. So now it's been my older brother, little sister, and little brother that I'm not talking to anymore. So it's just it's really been interesting how things have played out. But anyways, I ended up going up to southern Idaho, staying with my buddy from the Army, Jared, and while I was there trying to figure out what I'm going to do next for a career and stuff like that, while money's dwindling, I happened to stumble upon trucking, and I had prayed to God. I'm like, hey, if we still have time, because last year, I mean, it was looking as ripe as usual. The things were going down. I know they were going to start moving into the CBD currency system. I knew they were opening that up towards the end of fall in Colorado. I didn't know how rapidly it was going to go. I'm like, God, if there's no time, I'm like, I need to do this fast. There's only a few more people on the list that I just keep adding to. In my life, it started with 4 guys, 4 friends, 4 childhood friends. God, 14, 15 years old. Hey, if the end of days ever happens, just give me a chance to go talk to him, and maybe I can win him over for you or whatever else. And before you go, he sent me out in 2014, like you all know, and it's exploded into everybody that I've ever known, worked with, and has been a friend that I've served with all the way from elementary school and up. Well, these are the last guys I could possibly think of that would be worth talking to. However, they're spread all over the U.S. One was in Pennsylvania, another was in Illinois, another was in Texas, and then another turned out to be up in Wisconsin. Well, anyways, I got back, and I had been praying to God. I'm like, just give me some money. I can drive out there, talk to these guys, have my one-on-one conversation, infiltrate, tell them about God, tell them how close these things are, wrap the whole thing up in like a 3-hour, 4-hour conversation, and do what I do, right? And, of course, it's never the easy way. It seems like with God, it's always if you guys have seen the picture, your plan, straight to the target, God's plan, you're jumping over boulders, going down through lakes and everything like that. And a lot of times that's exactly what it seems like. So God's plan was different. And anyways, I saw a trucking school, talk to them, and crazy enough, they're like, well, in the state of Idaho, we have this Fresh Start initiative, and actually, if you live here and everything like that, they'll pay up to 90%. So I went in, took about 15 minutes, and literally the state of Idaho paid for me to go to trucking school, which would have been about $5,000. $5,000 I didn't have. I only had a few $100 left, right? And a little bit of money that my mom generously was enough to give to me, and grateful to God for that situation. And anyways, I went to the trucking school. It only cost me about $200, and paid for the whole thing. And from that point on, I was like, okay, God, I'm like, I'm doing my part, but I'm just going to ask that you come through on your part, right? And I'm like, I'll look for a place that does over the road all over the U.S., and I'll get in that job and start working there. And then you got to, since you have no control when you're doing over the road like that, and you're working for a company, they send you wherever the product needs to go, what you need to pick up or move with, right? And so anyways, I got into this company that I was with, and then the dispatches where you get sent out to with the trucks and stuff like that. So I got in, and what do you know? God sent me back to back to back, every single one of those guys in different parts of the U.S. Unbelievable. I'm going to Pennsylvania. I'm talking to a friend. I'm thinking he's going to be the first one, and all of a sudden I get turned around, and I'm going to another place. I'm like, God, am I talking to this guy or what? And I had a conversation with the friend. I'm like, hey, what's going on with you and everything like that? And come to find out, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He wants to stay in his pain pills and stuff like that. And God knew it already ahead of time. And he turned it around, boom, sent me right to one of the first guys. I got to go see a friend of mine, Kyle, who was in Illinois, down by Louisville. Came back from dispatch, got sent out again, boom, got sent down to Fort Worth into Texas. Got to talk to another friend down there, John from the Army, him and his wife, and tell him everything was going on and stuff like that. And then from there, God put another one on the list, Plassard, who was with me in that last firefight. He got hit by some shrapnel, and he was the other gunner that got taken down when we were up in Fallujah in Iraq. But I got sent to his place over there in and then Minnesota, and yeah, it was Minnesota, and that was that. But God literally made that happen, and he sent me out to all those places back to back to back. The company had no idea what they were doing or anything like that, and they got used for God's work. And I was able to go out, so it was pretty amazing. That's a pretty amazing story too. I mean, it's not like any of the others. I mean, if you guys have heard me talk, it's been doing it the whole time. I go in, I infiltrate a job in a location I need to talk to a friend, and I work there for the time being. Get absolutely abused by a terrible job that pays like crap, and get to talk to the people about God. Sometimes God has people that are in that area that he wants me to talk to, and I'll open the door for that. But it's to talk to friends, people I know and stuff like that, and then it's done. Right after that happened, the job started falling apart. I worked there for a couple more months, and then ended up getting out of that. and that's it. That's everybody from elementary school all the way up to guys I served with them in the Army, and anybody that was when I started getting really serious along the way that I've worked at these jobs, talked to. I mean, I've all talked to them about God and stuff like that, but it's done. I mean, that's everybody. So I've literally been at a spot where I'm like, God, I don't have any targets left. That's everybody, and you're still not back yet. If you want me to talk to somebody, I will. And I went to a job recently working for CR England. It only lasted a month. It was terrible. And but while I was in there, the guy that I was driving with, training with, and I was throwing a pretty big fit, but I was driving with him, and he was telling me about his girlfriend and his daughter, and he was saying some stuff that was really like sparking my mind. And I'm like, man, I've seen that before, but it's usually when a child has a connection with God or something like that, where a certain part of their mind opens up that I can see. And I'm like, that's so interesting. And I was fighting with God the whole time. I'm like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm so sick of talking to people, wasting my time. I do not want to throw my pearls before swine. I'm just tired of it. I'm throwing a real bitch fit under my breath while I'm driving with this guy. I hadn't said anything to him. I'm listening to his stories and stuff like that. But I'm keeping my mouth shut, which is unusual most of the time because I talk a lot. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. Then finally, I'm like, okay, obviously I'll do it, God. But I'm like, you got to make it clear that I'm not going to be wasting my time on this situation, all right? And if it is, and it's totally obvious, of course I'll talk to him about you and I'll tell him everything you want me to do, because he kept hitting me. Jared, why don't you talk to him? Jared, why don't you talk to him? I'm driving around with this guy, and I'm like, all right. So right after that, literally the conversation goes, and he's telling me some more stuff about his daughter. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm like, hey, by chance, has your daughter ever had a run-in with God or given her life to him or anything like that? And he's like, well, as a matter of fact, yeah, my girlfriend and her go to church every Sunday, and she's given her life to God, and both of them have. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, of course, I see what's going on here. I'm like, here's the boyfriend who's still resilient towards that sort of thing, but like, he loves him, he's with him, and they've given their life, but he hasn't been pushed over the edge yet. So I'm like, okay, God, all right, I'll do it. So I tell him everything, right, what's going on, everything like that. Come to find out, the girlfriend, everything like that, she's given up jobs in nursing and stuff like that to stay away from you know what, and I can't even talk about it. They took down like 40 or 50 of my videos this last summer. I was getting notifications back every day. We're taking down this video. They literally released AI on all my videos, and anything where I talk about you know what, the organic compound that you take or whatever, that the people of the whole, I can't even say it. They take the videos down. They're watching it so hard. But I told you everything I possibly can. Stay away from it. If you did make the mistake, repent, never do it again. It's an organic computer program designed to grow something in your system. I know what it is. I know the whole thing. I know what the operation is. It's all linked. All the other stuff that's going on with it, it's all part of it. They're not working separately from each other. It's all part of it. It's doing it in a step process, okay? Let me make it this way if you understand. If 666 is your completed house that you want to build under construction, all right, and it's done, what the first part of this is that we're not allowed to talk about, that they're blocking so much, is the equivalent of the electricians coming in and wiring the whole place before you start putting in the final touches and stuff like that, all right? If that makes any sense to you, if you understand any sort of house building schematics or anything like that, okay, that's exactly what they've done with this, and it's connected in your system now to all your nervous points, your brain, and every single part. So when they start adding on the other stuff that comes later, it'll interconnect with it. You've literally been wired up, all right? It's not a joke. It's very serious. I'm not allowed to talk about it. And not to mention, I tried to put up a video on Rumble. Rumble's not even taking videos right now. The uploading process is so slow. And what would take about 8 minutes to put up one of my videos on YouTube is now like 2.5 hours. It's absolutely insane. I know they're going to end up crashing all the other ones that they don't have complete control over, like Rumble and other news outlet sources, you know, that we can post videos on, and YouTube that they have so highly regulated, it'll be the only one that you can, and like I say, videos are dropping left and right. They're like censoring the living hell out of it. So you never know how long it's going to last. I mean, take the stuff, keep it in your heart, remember what I said, but just know that, I mean, there's going to come a time when they're just going to censor everything, and none of this will be even allowed to be talked about at all. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, I talked to this guy, and you know, and hopefully it helped, and he realizes this is all real. What his daughter and his girlfriend believe, you know, it is true, and hopefully he can give his life to God. But anyways, point being, that was something that God just had me go and do, and then that job ended like that. So now I'm in a process of going for another one. This is giving me number 47. It's just ridiculous how many jobs I've had. I think I've had about 35, 38 different careers, and then 47 jobs out of the whole thing. It's just absolutely nuts. I'm literally a jack of all trades. But like, you know, I get tired of it, and I'm praying to God, like, God, I need something that's, like, somewhat stable here. I mean, if I'm going to make videos, I need internet. You know, my computer's it's on the complete brink of collapsing. I'm using Windows 7, the things from back in, like, the early 2000s. It barely even holds up, and that's what I make all the videos and stuff all, and it's just unbelievable. But, like, yeah, I mean, it's harder and harder, and I never know, like I say, when the whole thing's gonna end anyway. So I'm just thankful for God that the darn thing still starts up. But anyways, yeah, and that's currently where I'm at right now. But the last year was very interesting. I literally got to go out and talk to the last people. Fall came around, and even though they started up that CBD stuff, and some of the branches of banks, and more of them are going to collapse and stuff like that, I mean, it still has not gone to the degree that I've been expecting and waiting for the entire time. It's just but it's amazing. It's going to catch people off guard. People are going to be so surprised. Oh my gosh, it came out of nowhere, and I'm just over here like tap, tap, tap. How could this be going this possible slow? Like, literally, God is like held back everything so long for people to have a chance. It blows my mind that they still don't see it. It just absolutely blows my mind. I thought it was going down in 2014 when he sent me out. I'm like, I have no time, which is how I've looked at it the whole time. And now I'm just like, how could this take so long? This is unbelievable. But anyways, if this job starts and goes good accordingly, you know, hopefully I'll have some time still in between when my time's off that I can make a video and be able to upload it to the internet and stuff like that. So hopefully this new trucking place that I'm trying will work, and we'll see, Lord willing, if that is, and if God doesn't just pull me another direction. It's hard sometimes when you go through so much work for a career or a job and everything like that, and then all of a sudden it's just switched to something that's completely different, and it's like, I put so much work into it and everything like that. But I mean, to be honestly, God paid for the whole schooling thing anyway, so it's like, even if he did pull me a different direction and I wasn't trucking anymore because he wanted me to do something else, it'd be like, I can't say it's a waste. Was it a lot of hard work? Absolutely, it is every time, but he's also one that provided the whole situation for me to do so that I could go talk to those guys, and there was no other way for me to afford to get across the U.S. So, I mean, yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, very interesting, but glory goes to God because he's the one that's got the wild plans and crazy adventure. So, anyways, I'm along for the ride. I've had a couple interesting dreams just recently too, and I was just going to share them. Maybe it'll help somebody out or something like that. I've thought about them a little bit, you know, but anyways, it was about 2 weeks ago. I was having a dream, and I was half awake when I was doing it. So I was laying there. It's like 6 a.m. sort of thing, you know, and I can't sleep, and I'm watching the dream start to form on the back of my eyelids, but I'm totally awake, and it was interesting. And it went to a prophet. It was all in shadow, but I could see the backdrop of the stars in the sky, and it looked like it was something almost like a type of a montage almost of like a prophet from back in the biblical times, like just showing like a picture of him. And it was just shadow, but I could see in his silhouette what it was. And he had his hands up to the sky, kind of like that. And in the background, I could see the star constellations. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, those look so real. I'm like, that is like, I'm awake and I'm looking and I'm like, those are real star constellations. That's a real star night. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. It looks just so real, like looking up in the sky, right? And I'm watching, and there was 3 stars in particular that were in a triangle. And then there was other night skies. And then all of a sudden, it flashed like it was flipping through pages way too fast to count. And each one, though, my mind could see it was picking up that the stars were real in each one of those pictures. And I didn't know what to think. And then when I woke up, I was thinking about it. I was like, how that's interesting. And personally, I believe that after thinking about it, that it was a type of countdown, something I can't count. It lasted for about 1 or 2 seconds. But it was flipping so fast, it could have been anywhere from 100 nights to 400 nights. I don't know. There's no way I could lock it down, but it was relatively short, but it flipped through the nights, and I felt personally that it was kind of like a countdown. Interesting enough, that night, I went over to a friend's house and been stressing out with all this job stuff, like really stressing out bad. and frustrated, and money's always dwindling right down to the last second. It's like, oh my gosh, do we have to do the same thing every time? And so I'm like, I'm gonna go sit in his hot tub. So I went over there that night. I'm sitting there, I'm just thinking about that dream and stuff like that, and I look up in the sky. Lo and behold, it's the 3 stars that I saw in that dream. I'm like, how interesting. And that's kind of when it hit me. I'm like, was that a countdown that I was seeing? Like a countdown of nights? Like how much more time until something goes down, or that we have, or something like that? And anyways, that's all I could make from it, but I thought it was very interesting. Another one that I had recently was only about a week ago, I think. But I was in the dream, I was watching from, I don't know, a side, almost like a story is being told at first. And it was these 3 type officers. They were heavily decorated, very heavily decorated. There was 3 of them, and I couldn't tell where they were from or anything like that. And then they switched, and they were Mickey Mouse. All 3 of them were Mickey Mouse, and they were riding, I think, on horses or camels, and still heavily decorated, but now Mickey Mouse, like a cartoon. And I realized that they were like the 3 Caballeros, right, from that cartoon, the 3 Caballeros. But they were all Mickey Mouse, and they were all dressed in on this uniform. Even when they were in the cartoon form, they looked like they were heavily like decorated military, all right? And it goes to what looks like something like the Taj Mahal or something like that. You have your temple in the back and these 2 pillars that are out in the front, right? And out in the front, the one pillar on the left had a cord that was going up, and it looked like a rope at first, and I realized it wasn't. It was an extension cord, and it went from the spiral up, where it was like, must have been plugged in or something like that, up into invisibility. And next thing you know, I'm on the lawn, my sister's there, and I'm looking up, and I notice that the cord goes invisible after it goes up in the air. Something's like holding it there, or it looks like it goes to something, right? And one of those officers from the 3 Caballero Mickey Mouse or whatever starts climbing up the tower, climbs up that cord, and it goes invisible once he goes up so high. I realize that it's a UFO that's hovering there. It's almost like tethered to the ground, and they're giving it power, almost like they're supplying it with electricity while it's like there, right, where they're running it. And I thought it was interesting. And anyways, I was just thinking about it and the whole correlation. I mean, I know the governments and stuff are behind the UFOs and everything like that, and they work with them and everything, but what it meant or anything like that, I don't know. I do know that they have cloaking abilities, and I did hear from that, I think it was David Wilkerson, where he was talking about how they know of a fleet that's around the world right now, and if they were to uncloak, it would change everything instantly, and they're all about 2.5 miles wide. Of course, after hearing that in 2020, I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, because that's what I saw in my vision in 2014 when I was going, right before I went up, the UFO, it was happening all over the world, but they were coming down, and it looked like about 2.5 miles wide, and they were uncloaking. And that was the same time I went up, after I said, oh great, now this, right? You guys have all heard the story, but anyways, I'm talking to my sister now, and I'm thinking about that UFO that's invisible over this like Taj Mahal that's been hovering there, kind of tethered, right? Why it's just waiting around, I'm guessing for something certain. I don't know what that military 3 Caballero Mickey Mouse dude was going up into there, but I'm guessing it was like some sort of meeting or something like that that was like secret, and they were just keeping secret. Interesting enough, though, I was thinking about it right before I made the video, and it's interesting that Mickey Mouse was what they changed into, considering the correlation with Disney and the whole UFO thing, and how the occult in Disney was involved in a lot of that, and they wanted to have this whole like UFO park and this other stuff, and their connection with some of that. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe more will unfold with that. I'm not sure. Or maybe it'll help somebody that's seen something before, and this will spark a little memory in you. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm talking to my sister, and in the dream world, whenever I'm in a dream, all those memories will go back all the way to childhood memories. They're all interconnected. And when I'm dreaming, I can remember that timeline. It's living in 2 worlds, just like I can remember back to 6 months old now in this life. When I go into the dream world, I remember all those dreams and experiences I've had as memories, as actual memories, that, as in another life that I've lived over there. And sometimes I get to bring that back over here. And while I was in the dream, my sister, I realized this isn't the first time she had told me this in a dream, but she was fearful, because when we were looking up at the UFO or whatever, she said that she believed that she was going to be eaten by UFOs, right? And I've heard this before, that like, you know, from that kid that went to heaven, that when he comes back, he says, Mom, I saw the aliens or whatever, and we get into a war with them after World War III, and they eat people, right? And I don't know if this is a correlation to that, but anyways, in the dream, my sister said, you know, I'm worried they're going to eat me or whatever else. I'm like, Bree, to my sister, what are you talking about? And she started saying, some of us are appointed, that we're going to go through this. Other people are going to get raptured, but I know that I'm going to get eaten. And I realized in this dream lineage timeline, this isn't the first time that she's told me this in dreams in the past, right? And I tell her, I'm like, Bree, what the heck do you think that I came down to Missouri to talk to you about? I'm like, I already know this is about stop smoking pot, for crying out loud. I tell her this in the dream, right? I'm like, just get away from that crap. Let it go. I'm like, I've told you my story. You know how my powers got stripped when I was doing it. I had to give it up. I'm like, it doesn't work different for other people. I'm like, it's an open doorway to evil. It'll ruin your life. It's bad. If you're worried about this being eaten, you don't have to make that choice. You can step out of it. You can go to heaven. You can be raptured. Let that crap go, right? That's what I tell her in the dream. Anyways, and then that's the end of it, and I wake up. I thought it was very, very interesting about the whole thing with those highly decorated guys. There was 3 of them, and then the whole sort of Disney connection with it, and that one of the UFOs was tethered over someplace in India or something like that, like the Taj Mahal. It was just very strange. But anyways, it's just a couple of dreams that I've had recently, and I thought that I'd share them. I don't know if it'll help anybody. I don't know if there's going to be more to it or not, but they're very vivid, and they were easily remembered when I woke up. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll talk about them. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm doing. But anyways, like I say, more than anything, I'm just trying to stay in the momentum of this, so I can get back into trying to make videos at least once a week or whatever, and hopefully, Lord willing, if I can get into a job situation where it allows that, I can afford to do it, and have the time off to do it that I need to, that it'll happen. So those that are praying for me, I appreciate it always. I mean, I seriously do. I need it. My life is crazy. The stuff that I get sent in to do, I never know where I'm going to go next. I've talked to everybody now that I know and cared about. There's nobody else on the list to talk to. So if God sends me anywhere else, it's going to be all for His missions or whatever else. And I don't know how much longer it'll last. Like I say, we could go into 2026 possibly. Or He could pull us as early next spring. I do think a Gog and Magog attack is getting extremely close to happening, and I did hear the one pastor who's shown a vision, and they said that they don't go in to attack Israel until Russia has control of Kiev. All right, so we see that getting closer and closer. The funding and stuff going to Turkey, it's not going to work. They're going to lose the whole thing anyways, and Russia's going to get in there, but supposedly after that is when they go in and do that. And another thing that's interesting is this is correlating to that X over the U.S. and America's judgment. Nobody goes to help Israel when the Gog and Magog attack happens. So whether we're like, oh, you're going after the Gazians, the Palestinians, which there's no Palestine or anything like that anyways, and the world has no idea that Israel ends up owning all of Saudi Arabia, parts of northern Africa, up in Iraq, and all the other places that God's given them, right? But I mean, if people are have thrown enough hissy fit, oh, you're going after the terrorists, how dare you? Just let them shoot you and kill you, right? Enough that they say, okay, America, we're not going to help. I mean, possibly. But here's another thing. If they do put Trump back in, whatever situation that he's running in, you guys kind of know where I am on that. I don't trust the whole thing at all. I think it's a good cop, bad cop routine. But anyways, the point being, if he does by next year, they're going to have the support and backup that they need in Israel, especially if there was an attack or something like that. But during the Biden administration, they don't, which would be the perfect time to do it, right? Because they're secretly against him, and he's Obama's puppet, right? So if they were going to do it this next spring, around the same time that we have the X over America, I mean the judgment lineup is just unbelievable. I can't believe that the Biden administration, I mean, I can totally believe it, has said that they wanted to have a 2-state solution in Israel before the eclipse this year. It's like, are you kidding me? The one that's judging America, that people have had visions of the Madrid Fault opening up and splitting America in half, and you're coming up with a 2-state solution for Israel at the same time that you want to have it done. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, why don't you just throw yourself in front of the bus? Unbelievable. But of course, it's not stupid if they're intentionally destroying America, because we're the last stronghold once they have that, because of the guns that they've given up in other countries and everything like that. If they break that, there's so many people around the world that are still relying on America. When things get bad enough, those Americans, those defiant Americans kicking tea in the harbor will stand up, right? And there's a few of us out here that totally would. But they have it so surrounded, so well planned in what they've done. Even in the Bible, I mean, it happens in an hour. The whole thing is just totally destroyed. It happens really quick. once they do that, they'll be able to implement the whole world government, and they will do that, and they're going to do it after a nuclear exchange. I've listened to them talk, high level guys and stuff like that have said what would be the one thing where we could all come to the table, and it's always nuclear exchange, and if they do that, then they will, and it'll open the door like immediately for the one world order and the leadership to come in that they've been waiting for. And of course, by this time, I believe that the rapture will happen, even if it's in the last second, and the restraint will be removed, and their plans will be able to go forward accordingly. So anyways, just a little bit to talk about there. I don't know if I'm going to say any more in this video. I definitely have more things to talk about. I really want to discuss the topic of cryptids and werewolves, which are exploding off the charts. I want to talk about a few stories and things like that, bring this to the table. You guys have already heard before when I was younger, if you don't know, my werewolf encounter that I used to have when I was about 3 years old. It was tormenting me and stuff like that. Not tormenting, but it would come in and it would freak me out, and it spoke English just fine, right? But I want to break down what some of these things are, and they're absolutely real, and some of the stuff and what I think that they're planning, because the numbers and the stories are coming out off the charts, and people are thinking, non-Christians and stuff like that, oh, when these smart cities, because they know about it too, a lot of people, that aren't saved, I'm going out of the wilderness. Once I talk about some of this, you're going to discover that they've already been planning for that, and these things are out there, and they're getting released more and more and more, and the second that people that go out there catch a glimpse of this and be like, get me back to the smart city, give me the chip, I'll take it, because it's absolutely crazy out there. It's totally nuts. So anyways, but I want to talk about that too. But anyways, there's just a few things on my mind that I want to share. I want to tell you guys about what happened last year, like usual with God and his operations that he sends me to. It's amazing what I have to go through and what he does to make it happen, but he makes it happen, and he does every time. And he's opened the door for me to go in and give my 3-4 hour spiel that I give to friends, people I care about, strangers and stuff like that, to line the whole thing up, that it's real, the Bible's real, the whole war between the forces of darkness and good is real. The only people that don't know is the proverbial courtroom, the reference that I use. The judge knows what's going on, he's working for Satan, they're after me, and the courtroom's like, why are they attacking this guy over a pinky finger being scratched, right? It's the same thing in the world. Forces of darkness have plans, they know what I'm talking about, I know what they know. It's the lukewarm Christians and the rest of the world is going, oh, what's going on? God's not coming back. That's a metaphor. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And all the other nonsense. So, anyways, they're the ones that are oblivious, but people that walk with God, he's going to open it up. He's going to show you that it's all real. And it's one of the things that I've had a hard time with, to continue this a little bit, a few minutes longer. It's one of the things I've been very frustrated with, and I've talked to God about several times. I'm like, God, compared to the forces of darkness out there, they all have inside scoop into the technology, how you're actually running this universe like a computer program. All this stuff they know about, and they're privy to. I'm like, it's the dumb Christian community, unfortunately, that don't know jack. They're oblivious, like my uncle. Show them pictures of giant footprints and talk about these stories. And, oh, it's not real, like following the lines of Seth, what they got from church leaders that are completely false and stuff like that. And people don't realize, I'm like, you're not going to hear it in church. The seminaries that these pastors go to are Illuminati controlled, most of them. So they're going to get their little twist with some biblical references, and they're going to come out not even believing the Bible, but thinking of it's more of an inspirational sort of thing. So when hardship really hits, they have no power. They walk away from the pulpits and everything like that. It's a money-making organization. And thank God, I think he's putting it to an end. Finally, once and for all, that nonsense is coming to an end. It's lasted for as long as it can. Have Christians been made in there? Yeah, of course. But you're not going to be or real until God says, okay, now you know enough. Step out of kindergarten. Now you walk with me. I teach you the rest. All right. And when you do that, it changes. And all of a sudden, it's like listening to those guys and listening to somebody that's like me. You can see the difference, the power that's there, the knowledge, information, the backstories, the walk, all the good stuff, right, that you want to have and be a part of. But you won't get that until you walk out in faith and you start to have that real one-on-one personal relationship where you're reading the Bible every day. You're talking to him. He's showing you new and incredible things. And then you get to share that and have that walk and part of your walk and how that's developed. And synchronize with you to help share with people in your connection, whether you've been in drugs or anything else. God will end up using you to talk to people that are in that situation, and your story in that will give them trust to trust them at that time, whereas they wouldn't listen to somebody like me who hasn't been in that. Later on they'll figure out, hey, I could have trusted all of them, but in the meantime, God comes to their weaknesses, and he'll work from there. So anyways, but just a few things I wanted to go over. I'm going to get off now here, and you guys have a good day. But God bless. I'll catch you next time on the Alicia, and thanks for listening to me. All right, bye.